Paul and Deborah, Danny. Thanks, Rick. Danny and Paul, Sheila and Mooney, Ilana and David, distinguished guests, those of a lesser distinction, and those with no distinction at all. Family, relatives, in-laws and outlaws, friends, friends of friends, passers-by, hanger-ons, gate crashers, those who are the plus ones, freeloaders, and those who are here because there's nothing else better on TV. It really is amazing how far some of you will travel just for a free meal. In these modern times, people want to know, will the bride be taking the groom's name? For professional reasons or a sense of identity, a number of brides keep their unmarried name, but I'm happy to announce that this bride isn't as modern. And she will be taking the groom's name, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce you all to the wedding of Mr. Paul Richmond and Mrs. Paul Moses. It really doesn't get much better than this. This is probably the greatest day of my life, so I really appreciate you all coming out to Israel to spend it with me. Thanks. My name is Stuart Mann. I am Danny and Paul's funny fat friend. Everyone here has a funny fat friend. I just happen to be theirs. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't have a funny fat friend, then it's probably you who's everyone else's funny fat friend. Jerry. Sorry. Most best men start their speech talking about what a surprise it was when the groom asked them whether they would be their best man. It wasn't a surprise for me. I knew. Oh, no, I'm not trying to be big-headed. I'm not trying to say, have you met the rest of Paul's friends? Obviously, he was going to pick me. No, I actually already knew. You see, Danny's sister, Jo, used to work with a girl called Jo, who goes out with a guy called Mark, who I've known for 10 years. Anyway, Mark and the other Jo came out to meet me in New York, where I used to live. And they said, congratulations, we understand you're going to be best man at a wedding in Israel in September. To which I responded, really, am I? Great job, Jo. So, when Paul came round to asking me, I put on my best Oscar-winning performance of seeming surprised. You see, Paul asked me over Skype, like the modern technology wizard he is. I hid from the webcam. I feigned tears of happiness. I gave out cries of delight. Whoopee. But he knew, he realized. But Paul, I have to say something. It's been on my mind for the last few months. You see, when Mark and Jo told me it took you 10 days before you asked me, which got me thinking, were you Manchester City? Did you try and get your Kaká and got turned down? Did you try and get your Ronaldinho and got told no? Did you have an audacious bid at Ronaldo and got laughed at? And then did you come to me, Craig Bellamy? Am I to you just merely a foul-mouthed, angry, tattooed Welshman? Thanks a lot. So although not a surprise, it was still very much an honour, a privilege, a delight. Which was quickly marred when I found out it was a 5:15 p.m. reception and I wasn't speaking until 10:50. 5.5 hours, a free bar. I had two choices. No drink, get hammered. I'll let you be the judge. So, before I talk about Paul, there's a few other people I'd like to mention. First of all, I'd like to mention Stephanie Moses. I had the honour of meeting Stephanie for the first time on Thursday night. She came up to me and she said, Stuart, are you mentioning me in your speech? I said no. She said, can you? I think you'll find, Stephanie, I just did. I hope everyone agrees with me when I say that Danny looks absolutely gorgeous this evening. Danny, with the help of Nikki, have put in a lot of hard work to put on today's event, and I think everyone would agree that it's been a success so far. Although there have been a few pressurized moments, especially when Danny had to decide on the table plan, so she came to me for advice. You see, she didn't know where to sit everyone. I said it was very simple. Anyone who's bought you big presents, sit them closer to you. Anyone who's bought you smaller presents, sit them further away from you. So if Maureen and Keith can hear me in the back, Danny and Paul say, thanks very much for the oven glove. It's brilliant. And if anybody else would like to buy them the other oven gloves, so they've got a matching pair, they'd really appreciate that too. I promised myself I wouldn't say too many soppy things because I know I'll probably end up crying. So this is the only one I'm going to say. Danny, Paul is like one of my best friends and a brother to me, so I'm very happy now that I have a brand new sister as well. That's just the only nice thing. You stop clapping. Danny, I have to say your dress does look amazing, and when I was under the chuppah with you earlier, there really was just one thought going through my mind. It really is amazing what fabric you can get from the curtain factory these days. Well done, Dave. Talking about Dave, I actually owe a huge debt of gratitude to both David and Alana. You see, we can clap that, it's fine, yeah. You see, when Paul first came to Carmel College, he was a day pupil, and as David and Alana had just moved around the corner to Goring, as Paul and I got friendlier, I ended up spending maybe 3 or 4 nights a week round at the Richmond's house, so very much David and Alana are like surrogate parents to me. Growing up in the Richmond household was very much an experience. It was like growing up in the house for the hard of hearing. I think their motto, synonymous to a lot of Jewish families' mottos, is why shout when a shriek is far more effective? Dave, these last few months I've been trying to think what values I learned from you back in those most impressionable years as a teenager. I realised not many. What I did learn, though, was the value of a good practical joke. If anyone has ever known Dave, you know that he enjoys his practical jokes, and unfortunately I've been the brunt of many, including the time when I came round to the Richmond's house for a weekend. They had friends staying, and I got introduced as Hans, the German exchange student. 3 main problems. Number 1, I don't speak a word of German. Number 2, Ian, who was there, did. And thirdly, my English-German accent isn't very good either. So I spent most of my weekend going, Mr. Richman, please may I have some more vegetables, in some kind of pseudo-Pakistani Chinese accent. Ilana, you gave the greatest pleasure that any tubby 14-year-old could want, full access to your fridge. Thank you so much.